will experience some sudden job loss, right, in your life. When that happens, there's a veritable flood of emotions. In this episode, we're discussing tips, tricks, and traps of how to positively handle what you need to do and what you should do, and handle what could be one of the greatest blessings you experience. Now, how often do you equate blessings with job loss? But we're going to go down that road. So, hi, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Centered.Live. We explore ideas that help you stay grounded and hopefully resilient in a world that's constantly changing. I'm your host, Randy Burgoyne, and I'm really glad you're with us tonight. And I've got with me my co-host, Paul Maloy, leadership coach, speaker, and a guy who's helped a lot get through transitions just like this, including me. I remember leaving a job, getting fired once, and who was the first person I called? Paul Maloy. Even before I called my attorney. But so let's talk about something that we face, all of us, right? And maybe more than once, and many times. That's job change. Whether it's expected or it comes out of nowhere, a sudden job change can bring a flood of emotions, of fear, of grief, relief, a strange sense of freedom. You know, those are just some crazy things. And joining us again is our friend Justin Reesor, a mentor, and a thoughtful voice when it comes to life's big shifts. He's been through career changes himself and brings some great insights to the emotional side. So, yeah, minister as in you're going to marry my daughter. Is that it?
Yeah, totally.
No, okay. Well, I mean, perform the marriage, not
Right.
Yeah, especially since he's married to my daughter.
Right.
Already been claimed.
You perform your own wedding.
That would be an interesting story there. From your own wedding.
Yeah. Love is what brings us together today.
Great movie line.
Okay. On to better, faster, quicker, more serious things.
Well, let's just kind of jump in, because the reality is that the three of us have definitely had these experiences. In fact, the three of us have lost jobs more than once. I was joking with Justin and with Randy before we began tonight that if I look at just my professional life, so not including the jobs that I had as a teenager, but just looking at, the jobs that I had when I was going to college and beyond, I've probably had somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 different jobs. And that may be shocking, but the reality is that it's very uncommon anymore to join a company out of college or even out of high school and then stay at that same company until you retire 20, 25, 30, 35 years later. That is very uncommon anymore. And so it kind of goes to say that with constant job turnover and shifting, that invariably everyone, I think, will eventually, if they haven't already, experience what we would call a sudden job loss. Now, by the way, I use that because if you know anything about SpaceX and their rocket launches, when they have a failure, they don't call it a failure. They call it an unscheduled disassembly event. So for us, it might be a rapid job change, but that doesn't mean that everything is falling apart. It may feel that way sometimes, but that's what we're here to kind of discuss. And so let me just ask real quick, Randy and Justin, what is something that you have learned from having been put in the position where there's a sudden job change? Randy, will you go first?
Well, I look back at maybe 3 or 4 of my 14 jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and I think the hardest hit ones were the ones that I loved working for.
Yes.
Right. In 2 cases, I was working for a company that was sold. One, I was, actually 3 different companies. Okay. I was part owner in the family computer business and was fired. And
not by his dad.
No. It was the new owners
Yeah.
come in and reorganized, and I was out.
Yeah.
Then another company was getting ready to sold. I would work my way up to middle management, and it was like there was no reason. It was just like I was gone. I didn't know if the company was getting sold. But anyway, I think in those 2 or 3 experiences, that the things that hurt most were that I felt betrayed.
Mm-hmm.
I felt depressed, but then I felt like, wow, here's a chance to start over.
Mm-hmm.
I was kind of an energizing, depressing feeling at the same time.
Dichotomy of emotions, isn't it?
Can it be that? Can it be that depressing and exciting at the same time?
Yeah. What about you, Justin?
Similar, actually. The couple times that I've had a sudden disassembly of a job, that's pretty much what I've done every time. Is that I've taken stock of like, where am I? What was I doing in the industry? Is that really what I want to do for my next move? So I've career jumped a couple of times into like whole new careers.
Yes.
Sometimes they leave you a bad enough taste in your mouth that you're just like, I just don't want anything to do with that. I want something fresh and clean. Let's go start over again.
Right.
Right.
So I kind of like that perspective for myself of, well, what do I want to do? I've got a clean slate now, so
right.
What's that look like ahead of me?
Yeah.
I'm with Randy, though. It's the emotions of like, one minute you're like, oh, this is going to be exciting. And the next minute you're like, oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. What am I doing?
Yeah. Invariably. And I, having just recently gone through this situation, it's been ups and downs, sometimes multiple times within a day. We certainly learned that there is a grief cycle, and it applies to job loss. And even though they refer to it as a grief cycle, it doesn't mean that you run that cycle and you're done. And it also doesn't mean that you're going to run everything in some sort of circular sequence either, because you can kind of bounce around within that grief cycle, and sometimes somewhat rapidly. So let's jump in a little bit with some do's and don'ts. And one of the first things that I think can be helpful, and again, given the emotions of the moment, it may be challenging to do this, but I would highly recommend that at the moment of a sudden job change, that you handle it with dignity, that you communicate with dignity. And I'll give you a couple examples, if I may, from my own experience. One, I was working with a startup company. It was I think I was employee number 102 or something like that. It was in its mid phase, if you will. And eventually that company got bought out by Adobe. And I had come on board, and on day 2 started to think I shouldn't have gone from my previous job, which was a fabulous job, but I felt like I was just one cog in a big system, and I wanted to be more in charge. And so I was given that opportunity at this startup, but I soon realized that they didn't actually hold their philosophy of work-life balance at all. And so I began to really regret my jump from one high-tech company to another high-tech company. And at some point, I made some strategic mistakes, and the HR VP called me in and said, "We're going to let you go." And my first response was, "Oh, thank you." I was trying to figure out how to leave, and it caught them by surprise. But I thanked them for the experience. It had been a learning experience. What's interesting, and I'll come back to this a little bit later, is that is what actually propelled me down the path to become a teacher. And so it again, sometimes we don't immediately embrace or grasp the fact that we have new opportunities when we lose a job. And sometimes that's our choice, right? We will leave a job, and sometimes we leave a job even when we don't have the next step set up. That can happen as well. So most recently, as I was working for a wonderful a member organization, again, I was doing some really neat things, and I thought that everything was going quite well. And then as I went in one morning and met with my boss and the HR director, and they said, "We're going to change our strategy, and that's not going to include you." What I did is I said, "Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity of a lifetime to really come in and attempt to make a difference in education and aviation together." And I really meant that. It was a sincere gratitude from my heart. And I don't think that maybe they were expecting that. They probably thought I'd come unglued. They thought maybe I would resist the change. But in truth, I could see that I had completed a lot of the projects that I'd been assigned, and I was kind of fishing for what else do I do next. That's where I was. And so for them to come to me and say, "Okay, we're going to go in a different direction, and it doesn't include you," it's like, okay, that is an answer to what I was trying to figure out. It was a little bit more rapidly unscheduled than I had planned, but there it is. So again, communicate with dignity. Don't burn bridges. I think that if the more that you can handle that type of scenario with calm and with gratitude, I think you'd be surprised at how much more peaceful it allows you to move on to the next step. Now, having said that, there may be some other things that you do need to do quickly. And one of the ones that I recently, again, made kind of a mistake is that I was given a very nice severance package, which included unused vacation and also some leave time. And so I did not immediately file some of the necessary documents like unemployment benefits, and I should have. And so that is something that you should begin immediately, even if you do have a severance package. Get that going immediately, and then it becomes kind of a safety net, regardless of whether you need much of it or you don't need hardly anything at all. And then finally, it's okay to reflect where you have been, what you've accomplished. And I actually created a document, and I detailed all of the accomplishments that I had made with that organization. And it was a lengthy list, and I was very proud of what I had accomplished. So part of that then also created the sadness, that, man, I had done a lot of good things, and I'm not sure exactly why, they didn't appreciate all the good things that I had done. But maybe they did. And again, they were saying, I was pushing for one strategic direction and they felt like they needed to go a different way. And that's okay. That's just a difference of opinion. But reflection is part of that grief cycle. And it's an important part. And you may have to revisit it more than once, touch base with it as a way of saying, you know what? Yeah, the time wasn't wasted. I accomplished some things. I learned some things. And that can be very helpful, especially as you try to then position yourself. Where do you want to go from here? What do you want to do from here? Any thoughts, gentlemen?
I had a comment on your documentation piece of it, like doing your unemployment and everything. When I was let go most recently, that was one of the things we sat down. Me and my wife, we sat down and we talked about our finances and unemployment, and we did all of those things. So within 24 hours, we were kind of like done from that. We knew where our funds were, how much runway we had. We knew what systems and programs we needed to get in touch with. We'd already filed all the paperwork and got it started. It was kind of that nice relief. It was one thing I didn't have to worry about.
Yeah.
If it was done, I could take that breath and I go, okay, now I can focus on what do I do next.
Mm-hmm.
So mm-hmm. I'm a big fan of I like to have a plan. I'm a planner, but put some sort of plan in place. Make sure that you know where you're at so that you can at least get something off your mind, because you're going to have a lot on your mind over the next.
Excellent advice. Thank you for that.
Yeah, and that's a good time to do it, because I think that you've got that little adrenaline, that drive right there to put things in order that maybe you wouldn't have if you weren't out on a limb looking.
It kind of feels like picking up a car. All of a sudden you got the strength to do it. You're like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the adrenaline starts to really pump. Yeah. A couple things maybe not to do. Certainly in the state of mind, whether you are in a positive state of mind and an excited state of mind, or you're struggling emotionally with anger and sadness, and that is, don't make any impulsive decisions. You just need the time. And as part of that, the second thing that you should not do is isolate. You need to have a support environment surrounding you to help you establish your own self-value again. And for the three of us, of course, our wives would have been the most significant part of that support group. But as Randy mentioned earlier, when he lost a job, he reached out to me. And believe me, I have done the exact thing, reaching out to him. And in this case, one of the first people I reached out to was also Justin, because I needed him to review with me some of the executive coaching that he had provided me previously, so that I didn't feel like I had blown, this great, enormous opportunity, and therefore I was completely at fault. And the feeling of devastation is real. Mm-hmm. And so I needed somebody that I knew would help put things in perspective and help restore some of that self-confidence.
I think that's one thing I avoided. Well, maybe not avoided, but I didn't do in a couple of the cases where I was out looking for a job, is rely on my network, rely on people I know. I felt embarrassed. I felt ashamed. And so I tried to go on as if nothing was wrong, when I should have been reaching out and saying, you know what, I'm in the middle of a hard time right now. I got a job change to do, and seek for some guidance and some help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love the fact that you talked about, the network that you have, which is more than just friends. You have a professional network.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing. I reached out to other aviation companies who had people that were in positions similar to mine. And I immediately reached out to them and said, okay, I'm in a job change situation. what are you hearing? What are you seeing? Is there opportunity out there? Because, the linkages, and not just LinkedIn, but literally that person to person. And these are people that I had worked with in other organizations, and we cared about each other, and we were doing some really neat things. And so they helped me to reassemble, in a sense, part of that weakening value of self. And I really appreciated that as well. Simon Sinek says that failure isn't the opposite of success. It's part of success. And I think, again, we just, whatever it takes to rebuild a positive mindset is what's going to help propel us forward into the job search. So, Randy, I'm going to turn that over to you.
Yeah, and I think that there's some effective job hunting nowadays is very different than it was, say 30 years ago. I remember when I got fired from the company that I, had dreamed of retiring with, and found myself without a job. And I call up Paul, and he says, "Hey, Randy, just don't drive off a cliff." No, he didn't. He didn't say that, but it would have been good advice because I was just distraught. I didn't know what to do. So in today's world, what we do, maybe we start by updating our LinkedIn profile. Make sure it reflects what you're doing. Don't be afraid to say, "Yeah, I'm open to networking." Make sure you get a nice professional photo, not one holding your biggest fish you caught most recently. And use some of the technology tools that are available. Use ChatGPT, obviously, to create and polish up your resume. Even do some practice interviews. There's a lot of things you can do with technology, and there's probably some that maybe Justin, better than I do nowadays, because even 5 years ago, when in the middle of COVID, when my IT consulting business was struggling and getting ready to die, I was looking for digital solutions to fix that, because I knew that a lot of the businesses were struggling themselves in that kind of scenario. But some things that came out of that struggle that the world had were things like Slack and Notion and Monday and Canva, all those kind of tools that you can use to brush up on your tech skills, so that you're on top of things. And so when you do get a job, you've got some of those tech skills ready to go. Like, some other things you might do is set up Google alerts for companies that you want to follow. If you're looking for a job at a particular company, learn how to set up Google alerts for that company or that individual that you're wanting to talk to. Like I mentioned, you use LinkedIn, Open to Work, join some online groups in your industry and job boards. There's some frustrating things about the dealing with the hunt, but it's about connection and clarity and confidence. You don't need to know everything. You just need to be willing to learn and grow and reach out.
I love that you talked about AI. It's like the thing, but I feel like that's so under leveraged right now.
Yep.
I talk to people and I help them get their resumes up and going, get them ready for interviews and stuff. And basically I'm just sitting down and saying, okay, let's teach you how to use AI. Let's teach you how to do ChatGPT. Let's teach it your voice so you can use it without sounding like AI.
Yep.
It's all those little things where it's you got to leverage the tools that are out there.
Absolutely. And I remember being kind of surprised. I went into a session with a career counselor and sat down, and she said, "Okay, what job are you applying for?" And I slid to her the job description of the company that I was hoping to interview with and my resume. And within a minute, she had, on her phone, no less, had typed in some parameters that ChatGPT then responded by giving her all of these practice interview questions, which then she proceeded to ask me and my response, right? So I'm practicing my responses specific to that job. And it was like, I didn't know that that was something that could even be done. Having said that, I am returning to the classroom, and I'm very excited to have that opportunity to go back to the classroom and work with kids again. I'm going to be teaching social studies again. I needed to get back into the frame of mind that I'm going to be working with youth again. And so I immediately connected with some teacher mentors to look at some of the new or newer philosophies of how to work with teenage youth. And in particular, one has become incredibly valuable as I have, in essence, been studying their developing philosophies of how to connect with youth. Now, I've really been, I think, a very successful teacher in the middle school level, but I am now going to be going into the high school level, which is new for me. And as excited as I am, it's good that I'm reaching again through the internet to be able to study up, to hone my skills specific to that kind of age group.
Yeah, and I think as we talk about using ChatGPT and other technical skills, the more that you use ChatGPT, the more valuable it becomes. I've had people come to me and say, "Oh, well, I tried ChatGPT. I wanted it to create me a resume, and it just didn't do it. Very good job." Well, how well does it know you? I go, "What? How well does it know me?" Yeah, have you fed it some details about you? Does it know your job history, your likes, your dislikes, some of your talents? I've used ChatGPT for about 2 years, but it's only been in about last year that it's been able to keep its history and then use that to prompt you on. And since then, it becomes a coworker, an assistant,
Interesting.
and prompt you along the way. Somebody that knows you can really then give you some good recommendations, and that's what ChatGPT does. The thing that it can't do, Justin, is help you with your emotional well-being, right?
No, it's a decent sounding board, but ChatGPT definitely has a strong what do they call it? A bias to agree. So emotionally, in these situations, I've worked with a lot of people over the last 3 or 4 years that have gone through job loss. I'm one of them. I experienced that, and being able to reach out to friends and my network there. My wife was a massive support, but there's just times when it's like I need to know that it's not just her that's backing me up. You know,
True, absolutely true.
Outside the home, right?
Yeah.
And so I was able to reach out to some friends, and they were over the top ready to step up next to me and talk me through it and help me feel my emotions.
And good friends are like that, for sure.
Yep. So this is one of those times where, like, emotions, like, we have emotions for a reason. They help us process. We need to not bury those emotions. We need to feel the emotions, let them run their course, let us actually feel them. One of the things that I like to do is, like, name it. Like, when you're in the middle of the emotion, like, okay, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling this? Write it down. One of the things I've done is you do like a dump page. You just take your feelings and you just write whatever comes to your mind. You write it all out. You crumple it up when you're all done. You felt it all and you throw it away. You're done. That's all you needed to do.
Interesting.
But whatever you do, let the emotions be there. Give them space to be the emotion. They're valid. And, like, whatever you feel, like, it's there. It's real. And there's no right or wrong emotion in a situation like suddenly losing your job.
I agree with you to a point, that there's no right or wrong emotion, but there can be good emotions and there can be bad emotions, and you do have to work through them. It's not to say that even the bad emotions, the anger, for example, anger doesn't usually help improve the situation. I can't think of any time when anger helps. Some of my kids might debate that, but but the point is, I think that you have them, you label them, you recognize them, you work through them.
Yes.
But you've got to be careful that the destructive, the negative emotions don't stay longer than absolutely necessary. And you may actually have to push them out. You may have to force them, force that transition. And I know this is where you're going, Justin. So take it away. But there is a way to frame what you're thinking and feeling in a way then that is constructive and is positive.
Yeah, perfect. So we read the same author here, Paul.
All three of us actually do.
Simon Sinek, he has this bit that he talks about interviewing Olympians. And he was watching the Olympics, and all these interviewers come up there, and they ask him the same question. Are you nervous? Were you nervous? And he's like, that's the dumbest question. Because every single one of them answered the exact same way. No, I'm excited. I was excited. That was awesome. And he talks about like feeling nervous, and it's like, what does your body do? Your heart races, you kind of sweat, you're like your body's like in this anticipation kind of spring. And what is it when you feel excited? Well, your heart rushes and you kind of sweat and you're kind of like sprung, ready to go. The feelings are very similar. And so being able to like reframe that, I do this with my little boys. We'll get out and we'll be doing something maybe a little bit wild, like riding motorcycles or going on a tube behind the boat or whatever the big activity is. And they start to get scared, and I start telling them, hey, yeehaw. We're all gonna yell yeehaw, and we do it over and over, and by like the fourth time, they're not scared anymore. It's not anxiety anymore, it's not nervousness, it's this is exciting. This is fun. So it's being able to take those emotions in the situation and say, let's reframe it. Sure, I can be a little bit nervous, but at some point I'm gonna take that nervous and I'm gonna go, I'm excited for this. This is an opportunity. And you just recognize it. And that's what Simon Sinek talks about with these athletes is over their whole career, they've exercised this muscle of, I'm not nervous, I'm excited. So now when they feel that, they don't think nervous, they think excited right off the bat. It's amazing what our words can do. I love talking to Paul because he's a wordsmith and he just words come so easily to him. But words have power. I love that. Like what we say and what labels we give things really changes our outlook. It can totally rewire and rework your brain and how you see the world.
Randy and I did an episode. It was one of our early episodes where we talked about positive mindset and how important that is. And now we see how much more important that is to leverage in times of distress, in times of uncertainty, in times of, where we're not sure what we should do or how we should proceed. But doing what you were talking about is a way to kind of make that reset. It's definitely something that we have to do with purpose. We can't just expect that it's going to happen at some point on its own, some kind of a natural process. We have to push it. And so earlier today, as we were kind of strategizing what we might be able to talk about, Justin sent me a meme, and it says, I started writing plot twist before every disaster in my journal. Plot twist, I got fired. Plot twist, they left me. Plot twist, the deal fell through. Somehow framing disasters as story developments made me curious about what came next instead of devastated about what was ending.
Oh yeah, I like that.
It's so good. It's so like forward looking. I think that's what I love about it is like we can learn from the past, but all the excitement is forward. It's always like, what are we going to do next? What are we going to learn next? What are we going to experience next? I think that's to bring it back to answer your question about the good versus bad feelings and emotions. Like anger, you can be angry, but put a timer on it. So I'm going to go be angry for 5 minutes at a timer. When it goes off, then you go, okay, I felt time. I'm ready to do something else now. Leave it there. Go reframe it and change it from I lost a job to I got to start a new chapter. I got to find my next job, and man, that one's going to be cool.
Right. Yeah, you go from that unscheduled disassembly event,
and you start assembling while you're falling through
right?
the air. Exactly.
Right. To being excited about what the next thing you can do. I mean, again, yeah, we're going to learn from our past, our successes, as well as our mistakes.
Yep.
And I think too often we only stop at, well, we need to learn from our mistakes. Yes, absolutely true. But I also think that we also need to and should learn from our successes. That's why, again, networking is so important at these times, and creating that community so that you do hear about the successes that you were directly involved with and responsible for.
We're so good at like building each other up that like we forget to build ourselves up.
Yes.
I am so quick to talk like positive about everybody I know. I'm like, oh man, I can see all the good you're doing. How do you not see it? And then I get in that same situation and I'm like, how do you not see it? Come on. Like you've done good stuff. You've done the positives. Now like give yourself some credit for it,
Yeah. Which is why the journaling definitely helps, when you start listing all of the things that you've been able to accomplish.
So once we've felt our emotions, that's a good point. Like, what do we do after we've applied for benefits and done all the paperwork and kind of got the administrative stuff out of the way? For me, it's like daily rituals. It's the things that I go in and do in my schedule every day. I've got two pretty good examples from my last 2 years. About 2 years ago, I was suddenly disassembled from a job. And that's what it was. I mean, it was business right from the get-go. Ran the budget, knew the numbers, knew what we needed to make it, knew how much runway we had, knew what things we needed to talk to extend that out for as many months as I could. And then it was going in there every day and, okay, I'm going to go apply for jobs. I'm going to clean up my resume.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to work my LinkedIn. I'm going to go scrub through Google searches and find cool companies that I might be interested in. It was the work. It was also a time for me to reflect and go, okay, I got two little boys that I can spend time with. Okay,
Right.
I'm going to go spend quality, structured time with them. I'm going to help around the house more. The timing worked out that like I lost my job and my wife started a job for the first time in 5 years. Mm-hmm. And so she was now out making money that we wouldn't see for 6 months.
Coaching is like that,
yeah. But suddenly it was like, oh, okay, like I can step in and like I can run the house now. But there was still that time, like I had a schedule where it was okay, I can go and I can work on my job searches and I can work on myself. And then I'm going to go work on the house. I'm going to make sure that I do the house parts.
Mm-hmm.
I had a very good routine and schedule there.
Yes. Yeah. My routine was kind of loose. I had scripture study in there. I had reading to help elevate my mind. And then I had home projects, which I absolutely was doing a lot of because at that point we had decided to sell our home in Oshkosh. And there were some things that I wanted to get done, which is just like me. I've done that in the other home. You get something ready just before you sell it. But it was good, right? Because it was constructive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the other part of it is that you do need self-regeneration time. And that is so important. So I would take bike rides. I would go on walks. I would, play a short game, not to get caught up in a game, but to just have some time that was I just needed a little bit of breather, right? Yeah.
Randy, you have any routines?
Well, I was thinking, I need to make a mental list of all the things that we've talked about so that I can have a summary at the end of this discussion. There's a kind of a conclusion. And I'd take 10 more minutes just to come up with a conclusion. This is great stuff. This is awesome. And I think I just want to add a couple of things. About 20 years ago, I was let go from a particular job that I really enjoyed. It was a hard situation. And through vacation time and paid sick leave, I had about 6 months of severance pay, including benefits. Well, I wasted 6 months.
Oh,
all of a sudden, 5.5 months had gone by, and I realized I had done nothing to search for a new job. And that was panic. And so if there's anything that I learned from that experience, is things that you two have just said, is schedule and journaling and planning and preparing and getting things taken care of. I just can't emphasize that enough, as how desperate I felt after 5.5 months to suddenly feel like, whoops, I wasted that time, right? So, yeah, and I don't know how else to sum up, but that, when we're working hard for something that we care about, and, well, in fact, there's a Simon Sinek quote, right? I think I've got it here. Working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. And that's where you will never work a day of your life. It'll be fun and enjoyable.
And sometimes it takes an unexpected job change,
right,
to push you into the path of passion.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that, we just take this as a new experience, a new chapter of our life. We take gratitude practice, we take movement in keeping motion and involved with our family, our community, our church, and not be ashamed of the kind of a career and job changes. Making it sound like an adventure. If someone in your neighborhood came up to me, hey, I got this great new adventure, I'm looking for a job.
Perfect.
Don't you love that excitement? Oh, well, how can I help, right?
Yeah.
So,
exactly.
Any parting thoughts? Any of you have any parting thoughts? Any sum up that you can sum up better than me and in what we've talked about?
No, I think that really that positive mindset is the thing that is so vital, and it can be cultured. It can be cultivated. And so when you're in any tough situation, recognize the feelings that you have, but don't wallow. Don't stay there. Force yourself to, again, be excited about the opportunities that lie ahead of you. And even if that means that you completely decide to go down a different path, one that may not have been considered previously, it could be some of the very, very best blessings that, maybe you just needed to be pushed out of your comfort zone into a different direction. And we've all been there.
Yep. All right. Well, thank you, Justin and Paul. It's been a pleasure to have you on again, Justin.
Thanks for having me.
To our listeners, if you found tonight helpful, please join our Centered.Live community. and just like and subscribe wherever you see us, whether on Facebook or YouTube or any of the social media that you find, even on your podcast network. Appreciate the sharing your connection and helping us spread the word a little bit. And may your next job or your next job search lead you closer to what you love and enjoy, and get the most out of your centered life and happiness, right?
Right.
All right. Thanks, gentlemen. Until next time.
Thanks.